Well, hello everybody. Long time no here. No, I did not disappear. However, I really did not realize what the heck I put myself into by adopting a puppy. And what a great puppy it is. His name is Tiger, if you don't follow me on Facebook. But trust me, it was a shock to the system. I had a dog when I was like much younger and I completely forgot about it, right? So as soon as I got over the what the was I thinking phase and finally caught on some sleep, the monthlies, were not possible. So sorry about that, but I guess and I hope you understand. So here we are. Yay. So this particular time we are looking for transition of Aries. I'm going back to actually doing tarot scopes, like not necessarily for a month only, even though technically that would make it easier for me. So sort of like transition 23rd to 23rd sort of a thing, right? So let's jump right in, guys. And if this resonates, please subscribe, please share, please like. And yes, to get a reading with me, please check it on my website, ktarot.ca. So let's jump into your scopes for this particular Aries transition. Hello Scorpio, and welcome to your Aries transition reading. So this is covering actually most of the April as well. Overall, it looks really amazing. You're having unbelievable amount of fire and earth. Fire and earth, get it, right? So there are two elements that are not necessarily incompatible, even though you have heard about scorched earth. Scorched earth is like not also necessarily a bad thing. Certain things need to just like be kind of like taken down, so for the new soil to be more replenished, to be enriched, right? But before I move forward, let's kind of cover a few glaring things that I'm seeing over here. I see that right now there is like issue about family. Family seems to be a centerpiece. Your dedication right now, it is like something that you really want to do, or maybe there's like things that you're dealing with your kids or with your parents or siblings, that sort of things. Because I see the Earth King, I see the Earth Queen, I see Earth Kitten. So that's clearly a family unit, and it is coupled with this 10 of Earth. So I'll be telling you these cards because not everybody knows my Mystical Cat Tarot, which is one of my favorites. So before we get to this family, interestingly enough, this Earth King is in the past. It was like some kind of like influence that has been kind of like done over here. Also, you have two sixes, which is talking about the presence of a soulmate. But all of that, it looks like came at some kind of like price, at some kind of cost. You have like this 10 of Sky that was like at the bottom of the deck, or 10 of Swords. So what do we see here? This Sky Cat has been kind of like driven out in the open, right? No one is stepping forward to help this kitty. Look at that. It's wounded, the tail is broken, missing an eye. It's water, it's thunder, against the wall. It's kind of like feeling probably wounded, starving, isolated, probably in despair. And it looks like this kitty is losing its 9th or 10th life. There are kind of limits of the strength, right? Maybe it's going to be conclusion of one of his 9 lives, or maybe he can find shelter and maybe healing in maybe some other clan. It looks like that kind of like feels it's end of the road, right? Whatever happens, this is the end of the life as the kitty knew it. Now, it is the time to face the facts. And you also had 8 of Earth jumping at me as I was shuffling. You can go on slow-mo during my shuffle part. You also, I believe, had the Devil card. Then you also had the Earth Queen, pardon me, the Fire Queen jumping in reverse. So it looks like there was like some kind of like feeling of despair, or there is still very present. It feels like that you are not getting everything that you want. You have big and lofty ideas, but what you have hoped for, it's not going to happen, at least not in the form that you expected it. So if you look on the bright side, look on the bright side of life, it's only going to get better if you accept this reality without illusions. Very, very important message over here. For me, this is one of the strongest cards in the deck, because nobody likes, in the regular deck, you know how we see the person with 10 swords stabbed in the back, bled out. But these cards are also always including a little bit of a hope, just as we see it over here. Can you see this horizon over here? And the sun is appearing, right? So there is possibly disaster that couldn't have been avoided, but just as you know, the yin and yang, as we see it here, usually 2 kitties, right? In the yin, the white part is going to have the white dot on the other side, and the black part is going to have a black dot. So everything good contains something, you know, dark, and everything dark contains something good, right? So this is pretty much stating the same thing, because this is kind of like description, so it could possibly describe past and present and the future, right? It is like really talking about something important. Sometimes we define ourselves as what is important. That kind of like sears in our memory, right? Oh my gosh, I loved him, and I don't know how I can continue. Or she was the one. Where do I go from here? But that acceptance that nothing in life is permanent, and that maybe it was kind of like some kind of like details that have been overlooked. Interestingly enough, that both of these cards are sticking together. They are very similar in tarot. Tarot usually has this progression. You go from 1 to 9, with 9 being the strongest, but these 2 cards are exception. So actually 3 is much stronger. And we see here a teamwork. You can only conquer the bug if you kind of like group together. And this one is talking about, okay, now about everything, and this expertise that has been learned is applied in a tiny, teeny detail, right? And also 5 of Earth, somebody possibly living out in a cult. Maybe in order to be somewhere with someone, some sacrifices had to be made. And maybe you're coming back right now thinking, did I make the right thing? It sounds to me that you are really rethinking a partner who at one point was extremely important in your life. This could have been a married partner. It could be somebody with whom you have child or children. But it looks like there is like this essence of you guys really, really want to hook up. You really, but not hook up just to sleep. Don't, maybe I used the wrong interpretation over here. You really want that comfort of home. Right? Scorpio is known for being homebody, but your water sign, water is like, I need to have that fluid connection with someone. The connection can be anywhere on the other side of the planet. Not so much here when I see this combination. When I see this combination, look at this, 2 of them are so proud of spending time together, doing things together, right? Look at this, the 10 of Earth. It kind of like feels like, whether you're married or not, we all can understand the situation. You sit on the porch or at the table with your family and you feel, oh my God, I'm relaxed. This is home. That really deep feeling, and I think that is what really vibrates with you guys. There is like this some intrigue about something or somebody, and almost looks like there is a possibility of, that's what I call hooking up, but it's really not hooking up, because something is going to be really strong, permanent, and long term. So now we have 2 10s. In numerology, 10 is both the ending and the beginning. So I know it's confusing, but you know how you have the circle and you start here and then it's the end, but it's also the beginning of the new. So for example, we finish schooling and we can mourn about the ending. Oh, the school days are over and my friends. And we do that, but at the same time we are looking forward, whether this is I'm going to upgrade my education, I'm going to get a job. You know, this is kind of like the cycle of life that tens represent. So the good thing is that you're recessing both bad and good. It's almost like a full spectrum. You know, they say that when we are dying, that our life flashes before our eyes. And this is kind of like one of these monumental months for you. Monumental. I would not be surprised if I'll be inundated with Scorpio's orders. Because, you see, this card actually represents you. It represents Scorpio, represents Aries, right? So there is like this kind of like Mars in behind here. There's like a shakedown. So the Tower is an interesting card in tarot. The reason why tarot is interesting because we have 16, so it's 1 and 6, and 1 and 6 is 7. So we have 1, 6, and 7 elements. 7 is very spiritual. This is upgrade of the Chariot card, right? So this really talks about, okay, you will not get up these stairs anywhere because the basics haven't been built properly. Just like this card is saying, well, maybe somewhere else, with somebody else, or with some kind of like other structure, things can work out. But right here, right now, it's kind of like tough, right? Here, it's different. I actually, even though Tower is very shocking, and Tower can really kind of make us like see things differently. For example, maybe you think you're doing the right thing and good thing and somebody attacks you. That will be a Tower moment, like, oh my goodness, like why, right? Or you kind of like you're driving on a highway and your tire explodes. And you know, like you're trying and struggling not to kind of like hit every single car and save yourself. Then you stop and then somebody stops next to you and the smile just kind of like all you can notice is a smile on this person, and next thing you know, this is the one. So Tower always brings some kind of awakening, but it's not easy. It's like literally like shake them, right? Shake them so they can kind of like get it, right? So it can be very, very uncomfortable, especially you're getting this kind of like emotional shake. And there's like going to be something that you're going to realize that you just haven't been setting this properly. It was like something that was going in all kinds of directions. So that's why we have here now the fire opus. We have 7, 4, and 6 of fire, which is really, really interesting. 7 of fire is in your environment category, which somebody is defensive or somebody really feels they kind of like deserve a better position than maybe you have given to them. Maybe you want to give it to them. You know, now with adopting a puppy, I'm learning so much about life. And I always have to tell you, I'm learning about relationships. You have to be very clear with directions you give a puppy. And sometimes in relationships, we are not very clear, right? We're trying to be nice. We're trying to wrap ourselves around somebody, especially we women, right? Sweet and sugar and spice and everything nice. Next thing you know, well, come on, you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me you don't like fish, and I'm taking you all the time to the best fish restaurants. So it is about speaking up. Somebody's speaking up over here. And another thing I have learned about dogs is that there are 2 modes. Either you're a leader or you're a follower. And they have no qualms about it. Hey, my tiger is actually a follower. And he just goes down and say, hey, you know, that's fine. But at the same time, when they're followers, they are expecting to be taken care of. So there is like going to be something about somebody about going to the next level, which is kind of like really interesting and almost like going to be a situation that have already proceeded. Given that we are going through Mercury retrograde and that we have like this usually back and forth kind of like things, this is almost like a step back, but in a really good direction, because this will be the regular kind of like procedure that you will have 4 and then 6 and then you have a 7, right? Together, when you add them, you get 17. So this is where this Tower is coming from. This is the basis of your Tower. with somebody, you want to go to the next level, yet you fear. You fear if this is going to be a passion or if this is going to be long term, right? Look at this, the ball is standing up in the air. How long can this crystal stay up in the air? Are they going to betray you? Have you been, because you have been betrayed in the past, or you don't doubt yourself? But at the same time, there's like a lot of passion in the situation. Somebody wants what they want, and I really think this is kind of like really seeing somebody else's point of view, because you see, this is the clue that we get in this card. Look at her, she's full of amethyst. If you ever want peace, you just create yourself a little spot, whatever you have in your place. Get yourself as many amethysts as you can. Purple is like that crown chakra, and also third eye at times, right? So there is like this understanding of, we all belong together. Royalty in the Middle Ages, they had their garments adorned with amethyst. So it's really important. This is also a card where you don't really have to discuss anything, you know? Let's discuss, let's do this. It is like so awful. That's why relationships are not working out, because everything had to be discussion. But then again, there's like not enough discussion, so it has to be some kind of like methodology to that madness. This one in particular is not discussion whatsoever. However, are you doing what you're saying you're doing? It's, you know what they say, give them a rope and let them hang themselves, kind of a thing. It's expecting and observing somebody doing something and watching if they follow through. It's High Priestess is like a really smart lady. She totally knows what she's doing, right? She is kind of like saying, look, I'm just watching you. You do whatever you want. I am not judgmental, but it doesn't mean that you'll be allowed in my world, right? That doesn't mean that, you know, you get a pass. So there is like a deep thought. And deep thought almost looks like it's going to get you nowhere. The tower is here. It's going to be still kind of like a crashing down, blah, blah, blah. But this is going to be some kind of spiritual development. And it's going to be really interesting, because it looks like there's like almost like, and you're a Scorpio, you kind of like have ingrained that ancient wisdom. And I know this is longer for you reading than for the other people, but it was so intense, and I'm so glad that I can give somebody good news. Usually good news is good news, you're fine, off you go. But I figured, you know, I can elaborate on it. So 2 6s. 2 6s add to this hangman, which you kind of like had here as well, the floating cat, the 12. Hangman always talks about, okay, I have to figure out what they really see and why they see that. Again, that can relate to this domestic atmosphere. And then you have the Lover's card. It's upright. It is like, you know what, I choose you. I want to snuggle next to you, and this is my bad, but hey, you're welcome. This is sort of like a daughter of this card. All 6s go under Lovers, right? And then we have a 6 of fire. These 2 cards are extremely powerful, and again these add to 10, which would make the third 10 over here. But both of them will talk about going to the next level, feeling accomplished, feeling you're doing something. I almost like feel like, because it's Mercury retrograde, that there are like people from the past creeping up. You had this like Queen of Wands jumping. You might have the fire sign. You might have an earth sign over here that you are dealing with. And you might also have an air sign, or Gemini, or Aries, or another Scorpio going on here from the signs that I see. But it doesn't have to be. Simply the story, the fabric of the story is more important than the tiny little piece of a thread. So keep that in mind, guys. I have also pulled, I wanted to pull 1 card from my chakra deck, but 2 cards jumped out. So it was really, really interesting, because we have 7 main chakras. My course people who go to, they have, I'm opening them up to 12 chakras, so they're way more, you know, susceptible of getting more information. So this is the base chakra, Maslow hierarchy of needs. These are our basic needs, food, shelter, that kind of stuff, right? And then we progress as we kind of like we have the income, we know what you're doing, then we can actually start mating, we are more confident, here are the feelings of love, the communications of our needs. You see, this is where the communication starts to happen, discuss. Then, okay, so there's the vision where we are going, and here we are doing this for a reason. There's like a higher spiritual purpose. So there's like the top chakra, which in this deck is like gray, and the bottom one that is red. So you have like those, right, bookend chakras over here that are sort of like represented over here, and that kind of like was also very important for me to see. This complacency card, we see a lady, right, almost like at the end of her life, and almost like, again, reminding me of this card, right? I think the story in the book is saying that she's really thinking about her husband or late husband, and maybe the dream, she wanted to go somewhere with him, right? But they never actually went. But then it's kind of like really interesting, like it is after, you know, the lady dies. I think her daughter discovers that actually the parents had quite lots of money to move to that place, right? So now the daughter who actually has that inheritance, she is wondering why my parents never lived that dream, kind of a thing. So to me, guys, this is warning not to give up. There's like something, beware of possibly coasting along in a situation that it's maybe not what you want. It looks like you're doing lots of repositioning over here. What are your dreams, guys? Are you procrastinating on something? You need to reclaim something. Maybe there is a lack of motivation. Maybe there is a problem with your self-nourishment. Maybe your dreams are left unrealized. It almost like sounds to me a middle-age crisis. Mind you, middle-age crisis I had at 28, right? So it's just like, oh no, I'm going to die tomorrow. Yes, in 60 years kind of a thing, right? So this is really important to kind of like define your desires and not to kind of like allow the destiny to beat you, and look at the stuff that can actually be born out of it. On the other side of the spectrum, like look, all these three would appear to be, I guess, if you really look at it, gloomy. Let's be kind of like honest about it, right? But all of them have the messages in it, right? This is really talking about sort of like some kind of like secrets. I mean, look, she's holding her ears over here, right? And that's because apparently God's voice is coming through over here, and she thinks it's a God's voice, but it's the voice in her own head. All she's hearing is like, it's all your fault. I will not forgive you. You are the problem. So there is like this sense of feeling blamed, right? And making yourself feel miserable, guys. You know, put everything out, air everything out. Whoever it is, me, tarot reader, me coach, me therapist, some other therapist, you know, kick the ball, get it out of your system, scream and punch pillows. You need to see clearly. There is like some kind of like hidden truth, something you need to release. There is like time for that healing and remission and integration. You know that I don't do health readings, right? But if somebody here is ill, especially terminally ill, I actually feel that something is going to happen to give a big hope, to kind of like either offer a new treatment or offer a new approach, or at the very least have that part where you start feeling better. So, oh my God, I doubled up with the time on you, but I am not sad about that. Guys, if you really want to check what your situation is, who the heck are all these partners, all these offers that you're having, contact me, cattarot.ca. And if this resonated even a teeny little bit, you know, this is kind of like affecting your sun sign, your ascendant, your moon sign, then you know what? Subscribe. This is going to be something that messages are meant to be directed at you. And yeah, you can find me on Instagram and you can find me on Facebook to get your dose of daily vibrations. Love you guys. All the best. My information is in the description box. Love you.